Hello, Joe Zarzaur here to talk to you today about multi-car accidents and the special issues they present. So when I say multi-car, I don't mean just two cars. I mean more than two cars. So the typical car wreck involves two cars. One car that's the victim car, that's who we represent, and one car that's the at-fault driver's car. We don't represent them. But sometimes there's like a chain reaction. Maybe it's a bridge accident. Maybe it's a heavily traveled intersection where there's multiple cars sitting at a stoplight and somebody going 90 miles an hour or so hits one car and that car bounces into another one and it hits another one. Well, there's only one at-fault driver usually, and then there's potentially multiple vehicles with victims, right? Both property damage claims and injury claims in multiple cars. So here's the dilemma. The dilemma is first of all, the dilemma is most people don't have enough coverage even for one car. Okay? Most people in Florida are driving around with the minimum amount of insurance, which means they have $10,000 property damage, and if any injury coverage for the other driver, it's usually 10 grand. So usually the best case scenario, unfortunately, is the person has 10 grand in property damage, which is a 10-20 property damage limit, and a 10-20 bodily injury limit for the other driver. But you should also know that in Florida, you're not even required to have the $10,000 for the other person's injuries. You only have to have in Florida $10,000 for your car, for the other person's car, and $10,000 for your own medical expenses, called PIP. We've talked about that in other videos. But the problem is, if you have minimal coverage to start with and you cause a multi-car wreck where you injure and damage more than one car, well, your policy is limited, right? And it's a per claim, per accident limit. And a $10,000 limit is usually a $20,000 per accident limit. So if there's more than two cars, let's say there's three cars that are damaged in one wreck, and there's only one at-fault driver, well, first of all, the car claims, the property damage claims, are going to be limited to $20,000. All three cars, no matter if there's a Ferrari, a Maserati, and a Lamborghini, all messed up, totaled, there's only going to be $20,000 to pay for all three cars, right? That's not a good thing, right? Another reason you should have full coverage on your insurance policy, because if that happens and you have full coverage, your insurance company will pay for the rest of your car. So now, what's worse is if you have a serious injury and now there's two other people that have injuries, whether they're more serious or less serious, there's only going to be $20,000 to split for the injuries too. So what usually happens when this occurs in a multi-car accident is that the insurance company gets all the lawyers involved. Sometimes it's the same lawyer for all the people, but most of the time it's different lawyers for all three victims. And then they say to those three law firms, okay, look, we only have $20,000 for all the injuries, so we want y'all to figure out how you're going to split that up, because that's all you're ever going to get. And what they usually do is what's called a global mediation, which basically means it's a proceeding where they get everybody in one room. They say, okay, here's $20,000. Y'all tell us how bad your injury is, convince us how bad your injury is, and we're going to split the $20,000 three ways. And of course, everybody starts off thinking three ways evenly, but then usually there's somebody that's injured worse, because usually the first car that's hit in the chain reaction has worse injuries. So it gets complicated, but basically there's limited coverage in a multi-car accident. You need to take doubly sure that you have representation very early on in the process, because you don't want to wait, because if you wait, the global mediation could have already happened, and because they do those fairly quickly, and they usually carve out a small amount for the person that hadn't gotten a lawyer yet, and you're left with whatever's left over. So it's really important in a multi-car accident, if you think you have an injury, that you get a lawyer quickly, and you understand that a lot of that's going to be coming back on your own insurance. So if you don't have plenty of insurance for uninsured motorist coverage or underinsured motorist coverage, and you don't have full coverage for collision on your policy, you should get that. If you're involved in a multi-car accident or you know somebody that needs advice, they can find us on the web at zarzurlaw.com or they can call us at 855-HIRE-JOE. Thank you.